Ever wonder how to get a true cinematic look out of the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and it is not to do with color grading? What's in this box might just unlock the true cinematic capabilities of the Osmo Pocket 3. And then something else. And then also something else. Let's dive in. These are a brand new set of filters from Freewell. There's a macro lens, which allows you to get super close to your subjects. There is a wide angle lens, which, as we know, wide angle lenses has a whole ton of distortion, except does this one. And then the true cinematic king, an anamorphic lens. Here's the thing. When Freewell reached out to me and said, Vic, we've got an anamorphic lens coming for the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, I'm like freaking out because I absolutely love the anamorphic look. It's a super wide lens, essentially. So the image is kind of square-ish and then it's squeezed down and it looks beautiful, and you've got those really true cinematic movie lens flares. There are these look, if you watch J.J. Abrams movies, you know what a lens flare is. They're just beautiful and they're really crisp, they're really stunning. And anamorphic lenses, for the best part, they'll come in a 1.33 or like a 1.55 squeeze, right? So that's kind of, the bigger the 1 point whatever, the more width that you get when you squeeze the image down. And I'm like, this is amazing. Super excited. I got the anamorphic lens out of this little 3-pack, which also comes with ND filters, and I'm like, it's really well built, it's quite solid. And then I saw, yeah, 1.1 squeeze. Now, that might mean nothing to a lot of folks, but you're thinking, that's not really wide. Anamorphic needs to be wide. It just looks amazing. So, win completely taken out of my sales. But nonetheless, I said, look, I'm going to take a look at these. I know there's a lot of folks out there know what a powerhouse the Osmo Pocket 3 is, and they just want to see, can they make it look a little bit more cinematic without color grading? Before I get into this, I want to show you what the other lenses are in the pack here as well, because there's probably more bang for your buck in this pack than a lot of other filter packs that you can buy for the Osmo Pocket 3. First up is a macro lens. A macro lens basically allows you to get super close. You can get some amazing photographs with it, or still video. And still video is an important thing to remember, because I did find with this, once it got on, there was no degradation in quality, but you did really have to get a very steady hand. So for me, for macro video, handheld is probably not the best way, but as soon as you keep the camera, the Osmo Pocket 3 in this case, steady or like static, and then bring the subject to it, or just keep it static, both things static, come on Vic, it looks really phenomenally good. Even compared to the iPhone's macro mode, this is the iPhone 15 Pro, we can same old little crab, it's just a different level of detail. Some folks might think there's far too much distortion and far too much depth of field, as there always is with a macro lens, but it's a nice thing to have and you can get some great results out of it. It's going to take some practice, but I do have a super tip, and that's to drop for the video 4K 120. So the slower the frame rate, or the faster the frame rate, so you can slow it down more, then that takes a lot of the shakes and the jitters out. Now, the wide angle lens. Generally, wide angle lenses are really good. They give a very wide shot, and even though the Osmo Pocket 3's got a 20mm lens built on, some folks are like, I don't want to hold my arm out too far because physics, science, lazy. Wide angle lenses generally suffer from distortion at the very edges. If you've got a GoPro, for example, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I did find that the Osmo Pocket 3 lens, wide angle lens from Freewell, there's very little distortion. You can see the before and the after here. Looks pretty good. Because, of course, the Osmo Pocket 3 has got a mechanical gimbal as opposed to electronic code algorithm trying to start it to stabilization. It doesn't matter. It just works. Now, the one downside of the wide angle lens, and I really gotta flag this, okay, is you need to use the macro and the wide angle lens together to get the wide angle lens to work, because if you just put on the wide angle lens, yeah, it's just a blur. Now, that started me completely freaking out, but then I was talking to my buddy Darren J. Spoonley Photography. He was like, what about that? I was like, oh yeah, and then there was a whole thing, a whole list of emails from Freewell. So I'm not sure why they did the two, and to be honest, the magnetic connection between the two is actually quite strong when you put the two together, but I didn't find the magnetic connection to the Osmo Pocket 3 the strongest with the two lenses. Obviously, there's a lot going on there, but Still works, didn't really fall off or anything like that. But if you align these incorrectly, you might just get a little bit of a vignette. So just double check it on your Osmo Pocket 3 first. Speaking of wide, anamorphic. Yeah. Without a doubt, anamorphic is definitely a vibe. It's not going to be for everybody. And the thing is, it takes a little bit more work to get it right when you're editing because you've got to interpret your footage a particular way. Okay, and now depending on the software, that could be a little bit different. So you have to kind of select the squeeze factor, as it were, so the anamorphic footage de-squeezes. And I use Premiere Pro, and it's kind of straightforward if you're on the normal stuff, right? If you're on the normal anamorphic lenses with the 1.33 or the 1.5 or whatever, those de-squeezes, because they're built into Premiere. Otherwise, yeah, this is a 1.1. So before you get into, it's not really wide, but it is wide. It's one of these things that you actually have to go and unlock the scale in Premiere in this example. So you can adjust the height or the width independently. Now, it's only a click of a mouse button. And I did find, I think it's about 90, 91. And I actually used ChatGPT to figure it out because my math... and that gave me what the scale and the height should be. So that's what I did. It's about 90, 91, and it worked perfectly fine. It's great because there is not a huge amount of difference, but there's just enough. Now, again, anamorphic lens. It should be super wide, okay, for that cinematic look. We've got the flares. We've established this thing will do flares for days. They're the blue flares, and they behave like flares should. They're not like a streak filter that Free will have done in the past, which was awful. But these do the job. And I was actually surprised when I was putting the anamorphic lens on and off. It's only when I came back here to look at the footage, I was like, it actually is wide-ish. You can see it. There is definitely a difference with the on and the off. It works really good. Now, I did get to thinking, what if I stacked like all the lenses together? Could I get the what? No, you really can't. No. It would have been a nice idea to stack, but again, keep in mind that this is the Osmo Pocket 3. Like the little filters, they don't weigh much, but when you start stacking them together, the gimbal on the Osmo Pocket 3 will go, hey, this is weird. This isn't, don't work. The magnets aren't strong enough. They do fall off. So it's not like you could kind of cheat the system, but you do get a little bit of a wider shot. Now, if you want to make things look more cinematic, as we know, particularly on the YouTube side of things, drop in black bars. Just drop in black bars. I used my kind of aspect ratio, Mogert, and it's just like click whatever I want, boom, and you've got black bars for days. But that aside, it's just one of those things. It's nice to have. Now, Freewell did actually send follow-up emails about the anamorphic lens. The choice of a 1.1x anamorphic for Pocket 3 is due to the camera's limitation. The Pocket 3 can't handle 1.33 or 1.55x lenses. So there you go. That's it. And that's kind of fair enough. You have to admire them for trying. And I guess that's probably the reason that this is included in this 3-pack of lenses. Now, there's also ND filters that you can snap on. These are really tiny. You will probably smudge them, but there is a cloth. So just keep a cloth with you in any case. And it would always wipe down your lens. But I think the anamorphic lens, it's definitely not going to be the first thing I'm going to put on the Osmo Pocket 3, but it's nice to have it. The case, everything is well built. These things are very, very solid. And it's just a nice thing if you want that look. That look is not going to be for everybody, but if you want to stand out from the crowd, just with those flares and the black bars and then put a little grade on things, it does look a lot more cinematic. And that's probably a vibe that a lot of folks do want to get. So hats off for Freewell for trying. It's not a fail. It's not as wide as we would like, but damn, it works. The real surprise for me was the distortion on the wide angle lens being a lot less than I thought. And then the macro lens does wonders for close-up video. But again, just keep things static. Now, this is one of the very last videos, by the way, I make it on the Osmo Pocket 3. There's a full playlist of videos. You can check them out here. It will teach you all the best things. I'm not going to stop talking about the Osmo Pocket 3, but we're going to slow down on the footage of the Osmo Pocket 3. Now, if you stay this far, which is near the end of the video, number one, thank you so much. I would really appreciate it if you'd click the like button. If you haven't subscribed, if you got value out of this video, then click subscribe. I've got something coming very, very soon that it's the first time I've ever done this on the YouTube channel, but I've teamed up with a whole bunch of other creators who are far better than me, and they have got some incredible insights on what they do before they press record. Okay, this is a big deal. These folks combined billions with a B of views every single month. Millions of subscribers. So if you don't want to miss out on that, that's going to be coming in the next week or two. Make sure you hit subscribe, because we're about to evolve this channel just into the next level, where we go straight to 100,000. I don't even care about 50. 100K, I'm coming. We're back, baby.